Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this product demo of Elliot IoT, our cloud-based platform. This is the demo is going to be presented in a way that would be similar to as if we were at a trade show live and you were walking into our booth to get an overview of our system. Really want to thank everybody for joining us and taking the time out of their days to participate in this with us. We're really excited to be able to show you all this. We had looked at doing some live demos and sharing some of our things of the Elliot Dashboard, but because of the technology limits and things, it just slowed stuff down. So as we go through the presentation, we're going to be showing you some screenshots, and then you'll notice behind me, I'm actually running a live dashboard, and we'll reference that from time to time. And I'm sorry it's not quite as zoomed in as we would like it, but I think we'll be able to show you an overview of it pretty well. I'm going to introduce to you the presenters that are making the presentation. Myself, my name's Damon Reed. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Pro Refrigeration. I lead all of the chiller R&D groups and field services here at Pro, and I think I'm going to be bringing to the table a little more of the applied uses on how we're implementing it and utilizing it from a service standpoint. Lauren Cawley, she's based out of Baltimore, Maryland. She covers our Northeast region. Lauren's going to do a couple of things. She's going to kind of mediate between John Riesenweber, who I'll introduce, and myself. And she's also going to be discussing some of the return on investment and some value statements towards the end of the presentation. John Riesenweber, he's joining us from our facility in Mocksville, North Carolina. John is our general manager, and amongst other things, he also leads our IoT Elliot development team. His experience in the IT world has really been instrumental as we develop this project.
Hey everyone, happy to be here.
So with that being said, I'm gonna give just kind of an overview of what we see as a typical service scenario. So as a brewer, we might notice that there's some tanks that aren't quite cooling like they should be. So that could be either from a automated dashboard that you have on the brew deck, or just manual thermostats in your facility. So then immediately that brings the red flag. What's going on with the cooling system? So what do? We go out and we take a quick on-site visual check of the chiller. Are our fluid levels, is the glycol fluid level accurate? If there's pressure gauges on the system, what are those pressure gauges? Do we really know what that means? I might need to call for some tech support. And if there's any active alarms that I see on the system, I'm going to go ahead and reset those. There could be, you might have one or two different visual alarms that you see, but in the background there could be up to 15 to 20 different alarms that are occurring that you just don't have visibility on that. So if you don't get the system back up and running, what happens next is you call your contractor, and they get a service technician out to give you some help. So the service technician comes out. This could be hours after you've already had an alarm condition. So in the background, we've got things happening like our beer's starting to get warm. So the technician shows up, they start going through their troubleshooting steps and resetting any alarms that they can see. As that's happening, they might get the system back online quickly, and if they get the system back online, it's starting to cool down the product. That kind of pulls the emergency aspect out of it for them, and they may be built up with other service calls and need to get on to the next emergency. Then what happens if the root cause isn't identified? It could be another week. It could be 2 weeks later. And all of a sudden we're back into the same cycle, calling out the service technician. Please get out here. We need to take a look at this thing and see what's going on with it. It's kind of sometimes you get to the bottom of the root cause and that's found quickly. Sometimes it's not. And this can just end up being just an ongoing cyclical issue. So we thought there really has to be a better way. And what better way could we help our customers And what we came up with was Elliot. It's a Elliot is an online dashboard that simplifies a complex system so that we can display those key high-level data points indicating the relative health of the system. There's a lot going on. But what we were able to do was pull that information in and try and make it a simple visual cue to show some of that overall health on the system. So by doing it with a clean user interface and not getting too technical on the front end, we felt like we've accomplished that. And as we go through slides and look at some of the dashboard screenshots, we'll be able to show you how we can actually dig in and get into some of the deeper stuff. So kind of with that, I'm going to turn it over to John, who's going to take us through the individual dashboard slides, and then he and I will probably just maybe bounce some things back and forth. John?
So a really quick overview, just to kind of back up what Damon had said about the development of this product. Elliot is a cloud-based application and dashboard. And some of the really cool features that differentiate a cloud application from a software application, say on your computer or on your phone, is that it is a live development process. So as we make changes to the feature set, the functionality of Elliot, it's going to be live in your environment. You won't need to do any installs or any upgrades. You will be able to take immediate advantage of any development that we do going forward. So that's one of the things that gets us excited about it. The other thing is that a cloud application is continuously receiving data, analyzing the data, and acting on the data. So it's working in the background, whether you're using the site and engaging with it or not. It's continuously running. So one of the things we set out to do when we designed the dashboard was we wanted, as Damon was saying, a simple view that would work effectively if you had a single location or if you had many locations, and that at a glance would draw your attention to systems and sites that need your attention. So each site is represented by a tile. So in this view that we're showing right here in the slide, you can see 6 different sites.
These
exactly, and the red or the top bar, the color bar, is your status bar. That gives you an indication of the overall health of that system. By default, or the way the system is designed, red or alarm states are going to go to the very front of your display. So that'll be the first thing that shows up, whether you have one site or whether you have multiple sites. The systems that need your attention are going to go to the top. Next are going to be alerts, which will come up as yellow, and then followed by green or normal state. And then the last thing on your view would be offline systems. They would show out as a grayed out tile. Offline means the system is having trouble communicating with Elliot, either an internet connection issue or a power issue.
Yeah, and I can show you, like right now with my dashboard up live, I've got one system that's a live system in the field that's coming up red. So I've actually been in communication with the customer. They're doing some initial commissioning on-site setup of the system, and so we've got some circuit breakers off. But right away, that keeps that red unit at the top of my dashboard. I have, on my own personal dashboard, I've got 11 active units, 13 units that are offline that just haven't been plugged in to their connectivity. So I could see that right at the top of my dashboard right away.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's a great summary there at the top that just kind of gives you a total overview, the top right of your dashboard, of how many systems are either in normal, alarm, or alert state, or offline state. The other things that we wanted to point out here, just in the title view, before we go into the next level, is you're able to view your system or fluid temperature, and you're also able to make changes to your system set point without going any further. So you can view your fluid temperature and then change your set point, save that set point, and that's going to go straight to the system. You don't need to dig in any further beyond that. Next, we want to go into the expanded view. So if you have a site that you're wanting to dig a little bit further in, and this is one of the things we really like about the tool. Again, we talked about the simplicity of it, but when we did that, what we wanted to make sure we left, or the integrity that we left to it, was the power behind it. So we're giving you that simple view, but we're also giving you the ability to dig a little bit deeper when you need to, and to do that in layers. So we're trying to not just to inundate you with data, but to allow you to filter down to the level of data that you need for whatever you're investigating. So in this view, you're clicking that arrow at the bottom of your tile.
I can show that the arrow's right at the bottom here, and you'll notice that this, when I click this, it's going to expand. And I know you may not be able to see the detail, but you can see that we expanded the view. This tells me right away that system number 2 is the one that's actually offline at the moment, out of a 3 compressor circuit.
Right, yeah, that system mode line is really valuable. It's going to tell you what the state of each circuit on your system is, which helps you when you're digging down a little bit further to pinpoint the data you want to look at. Below that, we have 3 sensors that we make available to you. Those are 3 inputs or sensors that you can connect to anything in your process and change the name. You have the ability to name them whatever you want. And that data goes into your historical records as well. So when you download your records for your system, you'll get those three trended data points as well. So we also wanted to point out that, so this is effective. Right now, what Damon's been showing you and what we showed you up to this point have all been views of multiple systems where you have multiple sites all on a single dashboard. This works just as effectively if you just have a single site. And in fact, you can see here the mobile-friendly view is really, really nice for a single site. If you had multiple sites, you could swipe down and view all of those sites, but for a single site, it just fills up your mobile display pretty effectively. And again, the ability to view those sensors are there, your system mode for each circuit, and then also to drill down into alarms and alerts, which we'll get into here in the next couple slides. The other thing we wanted to point out here is the difference between alarms and alerts. So alarms are going to come up in red. That's a warning. That's something you need to take immediate action on. It's probably affecting the operation of your system. Whereas alert is not necessarily affecting the operation or not affecting the operation of your system, but it's more of a caution. It's something that you probably want to look into.
Yeah. Would when you do get your alarms or alerts, you do get to see the current status of your system. So you could see, like, for example, if you had a 2 compressor system and circuit number 1 had an alarm, the information that you're given also shows you what your current fluid temperature is. So that gives you the ability to say, hey, I just got this, it came through at 10 o'clock at night. You know what, I'm holding temperature. I know I've got things going in the brewery, but I can get to this tomorrow.
The next thing that we wanted to show you, as you start to drill down, if, like Damon was showing you behind you, if you have that site that's in an alarm state and you want to drill down to find out what's going on, we have a button there that's View Alarms. That gives you a total alarm history for that system. And the way it's going to sort is the most recent will come up to the top, and then it'll go down from there for historical. As we say in this slide, one of the great things is it can help you identify, is this a sole occurrence or is this a reoccurring issue that you're having over and over again? It gives you a description, and it gives you some action points that you can take as you start to dig into this alarm.
Yeah, you can see on this one in particular, I've got 2 external alarms, and by checking the action, checking the status of the oil pressure switch, that's because they've got a circuit breaker off to the compressor. The system called that compressor to operate, which activated the oil switch, but the oil switch tripped because the compressor is not running and building oil pressure. So it doesn't dig in that deep to it, but it does say, hey, go look at your oil switch. Right.
Yeah, and the next thing from that, once you analyze the alarm state that you have, and you're wanting to dig down into your operational parameters, we have a system data button at the bottom of that expanded view. Again, that's when you're expanding your tile down and you're getting your additional options. You have a system data. And that's going to show you all of your current inputs and system operational data. It's going to show you your current version of your controller system and the mode or the mode of operation that that system's in. You can download this data. Go ahead.
I was going to say that system data slide's really super useful. If you and what it is it gives you a quick view of like, hey, what's my suction pressure? What's my discharge pressure? What mode is my compressor in right now? And so it's that mid-level look at the system. But being somebody who utilizes the IoT to do a lot of diagnostics on systems remotely, I have really integrated this this slide into my troubleshooting processes because it gives me some really good data sets.
It is a circuit by circuit view. So in the top left-hand corner, or actually the middle left, you have a circuit selector box, and you would change that to view the parameters for additional circuits. It's going to default to the first circuit. We also have another button on that extended view is the parameters button. And that's going to give you access, which is new to Elliot, access to your system functional parameters. So these are the parameters that really control your refrigeration system. And then the last button on that extended view is the history button. And this is a really cool visualization or visual tool that trends temperature, fluid temperature, pressure, superheat, and valve percentage. And it gives you a really cool 24-hour overlay of each of those items. And it'll give you both circuits. So you're able to select or remove each circuit to kind of narrow in on how each circuit is operating. And then at the top, there's a sliding bar that allows you to really hone in on a specific time period as well. So as you drag that bar in, as Damon's showing you, that graph will change, and you'll be able to see a better or clearer picture of the graph during that time period.
I'm going to show you, if you got a sec, I'm going to jump over to like the refrigerant pressures, because that's a graph that when you're looking at it visually, it's kind of a lot of noise going on right there. So if I want to dial in, just like John mentioned, specifically to circuit 1, I can shut off by selecting down on the bottom row. I can shut off the suction pressure or even the discharge pressure and look at those trends and see, okay, what was happening in my run cycles. And then if I want to dial in, maybe it's not a suction pressure issue. Maybe I'm thinking discharge pressure could be the issue. I can close that out, look just at discharge pressure, and really zoom in and get down to a specific time frame.
One of the cool things that Damon and I were kind of admiring or appreciating about that view is that you can really start to see a rhythm in how your system performs. And when your system is having issues or you have something that's deviating, that starts to stand out. It's almost like you're starting to see a pulse of your system, and then you can see where you start to have abnormalities, and that can really help you visualize the operation of your system.
Looks good.
So I will go on to the operational report card. This is the latest addition to our Elliot tool, and it's something we're pretty excited about. This is the customer window, or the window from our standpoint of the customer's operation. When you click on that, and again, that's on the extended view, that's just above the view alarms and view alerts buttons. And that will give you a display of, at the very top, your 3 sensors, the sensors that are demonstrating your operations performance, or the things that you are wanting to monitor in your operations. And then below that is a window into your chiller systems operation. You're able to select any time frame you want. It'll default to the last 30 days, and it'll give you both the low and the high average temperature, that fluid temperature that your system has seen during that period. It'll give you a status of your level of your fluid tank, and then 3 time intervals for your system fluid temperature. Right, by default, we set that to a morning, afternoon, and evening, but you can change those to anything you want.
And that's really, John, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the operational report card is really what we felt would give you or give the customer the data that is really valuable to them. Because we can go through, like you mentioned earlier, we still have a lot of power behind this dashboard, but most people probably aren't going to really worry about what the percentage of their electronic expansion valve is operating at. That information, that's the type of information we're bringing to the table with Elliot to help get into further diagnostics. But your report card is just that. It's a report card. So a quick snapshot. How's my system doing? Is everything green? Do I got some red? Why? Hey, why did I get to 37 in this example? Why did I get to 37.5 degrees on that day? And maybe I'm going to pull those records and I'm going to take a look and say, maybe were we crashing? Did we were we doing a two-stage heat exchanger? Maybe the well water side on my heat exchanger wasn't doing so hot. Maybe my cold liquor tank got a little warm. What was going on right there? And you could start trending those. The lower one with the average fluid temps, I think that's a really useful tool, just to be able to say, okay, I know, at these time windows, I'm doing these certain processes inside my facility. I want to see how that's affecting my chiller. And I don't want to have to go through graphs and stuff. I just want to run my report card, have that report card emailed or printed off, and just keep a little bit historical data based off of that. So I really, the report card is pretty useful.
Another thing to point out there at the top, just above your model and serial number, you are able to email this report card to yourself or to anyone. It comes up with an email address, and you can send it off to whoever you want, or you can print it. We kind of designed it to be that report card that you're kind of taking stock of on periodical intervals. Next, we wanted to bring to your attention email notifications. So an alarm, an alert, or even an offline status will all generate an email notification to you. That alarm is going to tell you what the alarm is, a little bit of a description on it, and what your current operating parameters are, what your temperatures are, your pressures, all of that, when that alarm occurred. Same with the alert. And the offline message is going to tell you if your system has gone, again, offline, and it'll remind you when it comes back online. So it's a good indicator of something from power. It's all on. It's not coming from the chiller itself. It's coming from the cloud. So the cloud is expecting to receive messages from your chiller. If it doesn't receive the message, it's going to give you an offline indication. So, some prior solutions required the chiller to send a message out. Obviously, if you lost your internet connection or you lost power, you wouldn't be sending out a message saying that you went offline. So the cloud is taking care of that portion for you.
Yeah, that I like to use. I'll share with everybody, if I see an alarm come across for a system, what I like to do, the first thing I'll do is log in, take a look and at the current status of the unit, and just make some decisions at that point. Do I need to dial in? Do I need to go out and get on site, or someone needs to go look at it? Do I need to make a phone call to try and help somebody out here? So you don't have to constantly be staring at anything, because in the background, we're taking care of that for you.
Right. Another thing I think that's important to point out too about this is we have seen solutions that will continue to remind you over and over and over and over again when you go into an alarm. One of the things we wanted to design here is not to, bomb your email box full of alerts or alarm messages, but we record when an alarm becomes active, and we do not continue to inundate you with that message unless it goes out and comes back in or goes into another alarm state. So the goal there is to really limit the notifications to you, to make sure that we're giving you timely information that's not something that you're having to overlook as a nuisance message. So the last thing on the connectivity itself that we wanted to talk about is the type of connection from our gateway. So each chiller system or Elliot-enabled chiller system has a gateway installed, and that gateway is capable of connecting to your existing network with Wi-Fi or Ethernet. And within Wi-Fi and Ethernet, as we started to kind of graduate our development of the connectivity side, it works really great if you're in close proximity to a router or a wired infrastructure. As you get further away from that, that's when you might run into the edge of that network. Again, it does sit on your network. It's sending data out from your network. It's connected through your internet connection. But we wanted to have that second opportunity or second option for you if you were maybe further from that point of router or wired network. And so we also went with a 4G IoT cellular solution for that. That is one of the nice features with the cellular solution is that as soon as you power up your system on startup, it's connected, it's live, it's on the network. It's also using the cellular encryption from one point to the next. It's using a cellular level encrypted tunnel. So that data is pretty secure. Also, it doesn't interface with your network directly. It's separate and independent from your network. So it's not susceptible to internet outages within your operation. And then also it's not an entry point into your network either from a hacker or a security concern standpoint.
Yeah, we talk when conversations are talking about Wi-Fi connectivity. A lot of times it's in proximity to the router, like John said, and I've had some customers that figured, hey, I'm close to the router, it's just on the other side of the wall, but it was a 4.5 foot thick concrete wall. And getting that consistent connectivity with Wi-Fi in those situations can be a little bit difficult to maintain the connection, and really those are the types of things that as a customer considering it, if I'm questioning it, just go cellular. Just
Right.
Go to the cellular model.
And it's something that we're seeing a lot more people within the industrial industry go to, primarily because it's reliable, it's always on, and it's secure. It doesn't interface with your network. If you've got any type of point of sale system on your network and you have concerns in that regard, this totally separates the two environments. So we're seeing it becoming a more and more common trend within the industry.
Great.
And at this point, I think we turn it over to Lauren to talk about the owner-operator value.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. Damon and John have kind of gone through what Elliot is and what it can do for you, and I'd like to talk about what it can do for your business, your brewery. We know you have a lot of responsibilities and challenges and things going on every day, and you've put a lot of time and effort into choosing your Pro Chiller, and you don't have to worry about it every day. And most likely it's in a place that you're not going to want to check on it or be able to check on it easily. It's behind the brewery, it's on the roof, and Elliot will enable you to know what's going on with it on a regular basis without sending you or your staff out checking on it. Or perhaps you have a bunch of different breweries or locations, and this kind of gives you access to see what's going on with all of them. You'll get an alert or an alarm, and it'll give you a heads up. If there is an emergency situation, you can stay ahead of it, and that'll keep your production running and keep you from losing time or money with keeping things running smoothly. And if you are able to avoid one emergency service call out to service your chiller, it's going to pay for the cost of Elliot in the long run. So that's a huge benefit there. Another thing John had mentioned earlier too is with the predictability and the maintenance. If you kind of can see when the high points of your operation is calling for cooling, you can be able to plan ahead for service and be able to keep things running smoothly. Because if something goes down and it's the height of your day, then you're going to be out. Production losses, people are going to be sitting around with nothing to do. So if you can plan ahead, that also is a really big benefit with Elliot. Bottom line is Elliot is going to give you peace of mind. You're going to know that your chiller is operating at its peak performance, and that if there's something wrong with it, you're going to find out right away. And I think we can go to the next slide.
There you go.
I guess I could have done that. Sorry. So then just to recap kind of everything that we've been talking about, Elliot is going to provide you a direct and exclusive portal to your chiller system. That's for you as the brewery owner, and also so you can see kind of an upper level view of what's kind of going on and if there's an issue, and then for your service person to be able to dig down a little bit deeper and find out what the cause, as Damon had kind of gone through in the beginning, to see what's really happening with it and get it fixed right away. And then with the alerts and the alarms, you're going to get notified if there's something wrong, but you can also get general status updates of what is the status of my chiller. And you can look at that at any time and anywhere, as can your service provider as well. The predictive analysis, that's something that we're continuously working on, and with our
that's your like your predictive analytics, and like where you start driving into things where the machines are actually paying attention to their own operating characteristics and being able to proactively say, as opposed to a response to a data set, you get more of a trended response. Like, hey, Mr. Customer, I am starting to think that my condenser is going to need cleaned, and that's based on these trended data sets. So those types of things are definitely there's a lot going on right now as predictive analytics and machine learning is becoming more and more prevalent with the markets, and that's something that we're definitely, as we're working with Elliot, these are things that we're looking at incorporation for that kind of stuff. Don't you agree, John?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, on that whole cloud application, one of the benefits here is as we develop it, these features will be rolled out live to everybody who's utilizing the software. So we're not having to worry again about upgrading or downloading new software. It's going to be, as we develop it, you get to take advantage of those features.
How do we from a connectivity standpoint, we're capable of being able to interface with let's say, for example, if I'm a brewer and I like to use everything that's on my dashboard on the brew deck. Can I get information from my chiller system delivered to that? Can it interface?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a couple different options for that. I mean, we can definitely deal with or talk with Modbus or BACnet or LawnWorks or any of those types of languages. We also have a cloud-to-cloud options that we can provide if you have something that exists in the cloud. So there's a bunch of different solutions there that we can help you interface.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
Thanks.
Excellent. Oh, that's good. That's good. And we've got our historical records as a scenario too. You know, it's not what we've shown you on the dashboard as being available, you know, where we're looking at, you know, 24-hour snapshot windows of things. Those are our fast, quick hit information that we're giving you. There's also where you can download. Is there any limit, John, to the history of records that are available to us?
No, there's not. Right now, it's actually from our factory when we first commissioned the system, those records are there as well. So from I guess we would call it from beginning of file to end of file.
That's great. And you just sort that based on a date range when you select what you want. So you could go year over year and say, what was my system doing last year? What was it doing the year before? What is it doing this year? Am I starting to see things like, am I having trouble maintaining set point? If everything's operating perfectly, but I'm having trouble maintaining set point, then maybe something changed in my process, and maybe I need a little extra cooling capacity to get myself where I want to be. So having the value of those historical records, I think, is a definite big plus for folks. Yeah, cellular connection too. Making that cellular connection, not having to, you know, I've worked with folks where they run an Ethernet cable, you know, 100 feet or whatever the distance may be, and you know, a lot of times you'll come into question of, well, when I crimp the wires, did I make the crimp just right? You know, because I built this wire, and I don't know if anybody on the demo or anybody's ever got the opportunity to crimp their own Cat 5 cables, but it is a pain.
It is.
That's a lot of little wires.
Right.
So I guess to kind of wrap up, you know, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a question and answer period. We really encourage you, if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one, I know we're available. We'd be more than happy to take you through a live Elliot Dashboard demo if you'd like to learn more about it. We'd be happy to help you out with that. But we're going to kind of open the table to the attendees for any questions that you'd like to ask.
Any questions?
And there aren't any questions at the moment. So, I'll throw some out there. What if I have an existing chiller system, but I don't have Elliot? What does it look like for me to be able to get that?
That's something that you can reach out to the sales team for. I'm part of a regional team, and we can help you take a look at what system that you already have and what the availability of adding Elliot would be to it. And we can also take a look at your current load and see if maybe you need to add a module, or maybe it's time to add a second chiller, or any of that. Our team is happy to help you with that. You can reach out to sales at Pro Refrigeration, and me or any of the other sales team can help you with that.
And is that a kitted type thing right now? Like we have a kit, or how's that working, John?
Yes, that's what we're working towards right now is a kit that would allow you to, obviously, as Lauren was saying, the best thing to do is to find out, get with us on what type of system you have. With our current controller, it's a pretty simple integration that we can give you some parts and upgrade some of your software, and it's there's less involved, I guess, on your end as far as hooking up sensors. But if it's one of our MAs or ChillStar series, then we also have another solutions for that. So it's something that we're continuing to build and continuing to work on. But we do have we see that as a big opportunity and a big need, and something that we know that people are going to be are wanting us to go in that direction.
How's it? Hey, we've got a question here, John, that I think you'd be great to answer this one for us. I don't know if you see that, but the question is from Brooks. You mentioned the cellular connection was built through the 4G network. Would it update to 5G if that is available?
So right now, from what we're hearing on the 4G technology, it would be a hardware change to go to 5G. But from what we're hearing on the 4G technology is the majority of all IoT is sticking with the 4G IoT connection. Right now, we're using a technology called 4G Cat-M, and so the majority of the industry is going to stay within that for the time being. At some point, there might be an opportunity to upgrade to 5G, but really 4G is going to be supported for a large amount of time. That is not anywhere near. It's actually still pretty new technology.
Gotcha. How's I think Bongman CO? I hope I didn't I said that right. But do you provide services to Asia? And I think I could answer that. Most definitely we could provide services to Asia. That would be something that I would encourage you to reach out on the one-on-one. But we probably have you working with. We'd have a specific regional salesperson that would work with you on that. Chris asks, does Elliot work on all systems, and how long does it take to get up and running on Elliot? If you guys don't mind, I'll field that question. So does Elliot work? Well, currently Elliot is available for all of our V-Piston or our V-Series systems, the Pro Chiller units. And I brought up the question earlier about a retrofit, and we understand that people want to be able to add this to older systems and with different controls technologies, and so we're working on developing that retrofit package as a kit. Now we're in conjunction with the retrofit to our own systems. We are working on our development team on an Elliot module that will tie into any refrigeration system and give us those key data points on that as well. So that is currently in development. I hope I answered that well. I hope that you were asking for that, Chris.
I think also as long as how long does it take to get up and running on it? If you're ordering a system that has it built into it, that would be standard lead time, because if you're which is 6 to 8 weeks, and then once
to get it live is just a few keystrokes of the interface. And
that's a good point too. Just to point out, we do factory commission the Elliot side of it here. So we set up everything to your account. We set everything up to your profile so that out of the box, it is communicating with our server. Again, I guess the biggest thing from when the chiller shows up at your site to when you're able to view it online is really that connectivity piece. How long does it take to get connected to your network, or did you choose the cellular option? In the event of cellular, again, you turn the power on and it's sending data immediately.
Right. How secure is what's the security of the connection? Maybe we could talk to people a little bit about that.
Well, yeah. So again, I guess a huge part of that that factor is what network it sits on. So one of the major concerns that people have is sharing their industrial equipment network with their LAN network where their office people or again their point of sale systems sits. So that's separating those two is really a big concern from a security, or a big interest from a security standpoint, and that's one of the things that cellular gets you. Another thing that cellular gets you is within wireless, you have a couple different security standards out there that pretty much is adopted across all wireless equipment, whether that's WPA or WEP. But it's the same type of data encryption. With the cellulars, it's a proprietary encryption. So it's a much more secure, less accessible encryption than a wireless, like a home 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz wireless network.
Can anybody here's a question from Michael. What types of hardware devices are used to get the Elliot system set up? And is the installation of the hardware done by the brewery owner or pro? So, yeah, that's a great question. From a hardware device standpoint, we have a gateway, and then depending on the type of model of system that's currently at site, I'm going to talk. That's kind of talk to that in two parts. One is if it's a new chiller system that's being built, then everything's done and installed. All you have to do is register for an account and then tie the system to your account. And that's something I think from a security standpoint that is also important to mention. You have to generate a 6-digit code at the device, and then you have to enter that into your account, and that's how it recognizes, hey, this chiller is going to be registered to your account. Then the second part of the question would be, I guess, if I was going to do a retrofit on a system, then what am I looking at? The customer would be responsible for installation of a gateway device and running an Ethernet cable and some low voltage power wiring to the gateway. But as we're building that kit and what that's going to look like, that'll be provided with a very in-depth instruction set for you. And the instructions aren't much.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah. It brought up the point. I meant to mention that, John. Does that tie into from a security and authentication standpoint, being able to have to enter a code at the device as opposed to just, hey, it's online and I'm live?
Right, exactly. And it's a pretty standard process that you're seeing with a lot of different types of devices right now. It's very similar to the process you would go through if you have a media center or a Roku or an Apple TV and you're wanting to register your HBO account to that device. You go to the site, you create an account, and then you put in that 4-digit code, and that 4-digit code basically ties your device to your account. So it's the 4-digit code is only live for 24 hours. So if you don't do it within that time period, you'd have to generate it again, but that's another kind of security measure. So it doesn't just stay active. And then it's available for one use. So once you use that one time to register a device to your profile, it's no longer active, and you need to generate another one if you were wanting to register another user. Another point on security that I thought we could point out too, and it's getting a little in the weeds, but from a security standpoint, I think it's important, is each device has a unique security encryption key that is generated at the factory, and that is a key that, again, it's completely unique for every device and randomly generated. So that's just another measure that we're taking. It's at both the cloud and the device level to authenticate that device to our services.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I can't think. Hey, John, what do I do? What if I've got more than one person at my facility? Say I've got a 3-man maintenance team, and I want all 3 of them to have visibility of my system. What do I have to do then?
So you would just go to mychiller.com to generate a new profile. You'd add a profile, and then just as you were mentioning before, you'd go through your screen and generate the code for each of those profiles. So each profile could register. Great.
And I can add to for customers, if you're having Elliot equipped and enabled system, and you want to help, let's say you and I happen to be talking on the phone, and I may have you generate a quick code and just have you send me what that code is, and then I can register it to my account from my office and have visibility and help you through on some troubleshooting, or your technician.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe we hold for a little bit on some, see if there's any other questions that come up.
And don't forget, you can schedule a one-on-one if you'd like through the main website, and we can run through things with you, or you can reach out to any of our sales team to discuss a more detailed project too. But if you have any other questions here, feel free to shout them out.
Yeah. Well, I think with that, why don't we go ahead and plan to end the session, and after this, please feel free to reach out to us. I sure appreciate everybody attending. I appreciate you, Lauren and John, for joining me on this too, and all the work everybody put into it. I think it's really a testament to the technologies that are out there, that we could all 3 be spread out across the country talking. So pretty neat stuff.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. We can go ahead and we'll go ahead.